Well, hello, guys.
Howdy.
Hey, fellows, how's it going?
Doing good. Brian, Greg, you guys doing okay? And everybody out there in the live stream, glad to have you on here tonight. Brian, thanks for that super chat already, man. You didn't have to do that, but I do appreciate it. Got it in there before the song was even over, so I appreciate it. We've been doing that intro for a year and
Yeah,
however long, almost since the beginning, and it just every time it just gets me still. I really enjoy that. So, um,
a good
well,
one.
I guess we'll get started tonight. Kind of going around the horn here. Brian, what's going on up in your neck of the woods?
Oh man. Uh oh gosh. Just busy. And it's a good topic tonight. So uh
Yeah,
just trying to stay ahead of the flow. That fall flow is on us, and it's amazing because even like as compared to last week when I was telling Greg when he was up my area, there was literally like no flowers. And now I drive like down some of the country roads, and literally it is just acre upon acre upon acre of just flowers. And it's just that switch got turned on.
it's
But
amazing.
that it's a good thing. I did some only hive that I really got into the other day. I had one that wasn't quite built out like the others. They didn't have all the drawn comb. So, what better use of a colony that got robbed out? I utilized that comb and just slapped it right in this other one. So, just seeing if they can store up some nectar and get some stores. And if they don't, and they're in the top deep, I'll just combine them down to a single. But it's just like it's that September work. You've had a long year, um, and it's just trying to wrap things up, moving, gosh, into fall and get them squared away going into the winter. So I did from last week to this week, I did my first market. So went pretty good. I made enough money that I hit my honey money goal so I can get my bottling tank. So it's just waiting for deals to hit for the expo, and then I'm gonna make the purchase for that. So I think that'll be the only like big piece of equipment I add this year at Castle Hives. I've done last year, it was the extractor and uncapping tank, and you know, but that bottling tank will be like the last item. I think it'll make my operation much more efficient. So, but
Yeah,
overall, I see Chris here saying how'd it go. Yeah, yeah, it was. I'm telling you, I had never heard of this flea market, and my son and daughter-in-law go there, and it was constant. I literally had very little time that I could even step away, and I had to ask this couple that was next to me that was selling candles. So we got talking about wax and stuff like that. I had to ask them. I said, "Hey, can you watch my table for a second? That way I could go hit the restroom." But it was just like steady, and that was good. It was funny because all my dark honey sold first. I had
mm,
little tasters out, so it was fun, at least for me, watching people try the different honeys. And you could tell people when they've always bought store honey, and then when they get local honey and they try it, their eyes just light up. And but it was a fun experience. So I'm looking forward to doing it again in October. So real
yeah.
fun.
That sounds fun. I've never done a market quite like that, but I've got a lady right now who she just bought it quite a bit from me today. There's a new, it's like a little it's like a little nursery that they've set up just not far from here, and I guess they're doing a little farmers market on Saturdays.
Mm,
And she's like, "Nobody's got honey. Do you want to put honey out there?" I said, "Well, I really don't want to, but you can certainly, because she has a little booth there. She
mm.
sells. She's kind of like a little homestead type thing, and it's pretty. I think it's her Instagram page is wildcrafted in Wicksburg. Wicksburg is a local town here,
Oh, okay.
and so it's kind of she does some kind of fun stuff. I think she makes some different things and sells them there. But I guess the honey's just flying off the shelves, and it's not far from a couple of other places where I sell it, but people are glad to see it. And so
Yeah,
she's just buying it from me for the price I sell it to my markets around here, the different stores and stuff. And then she's turned a little profit on it. So I just don't, I think I would enjoy doing that. It's just a time thing and an energy thing for me, but it sounds like you had a really good day and a lot of success. And it would be fun, I think, to meet all the people coming by too and talking about the bees and the honey, and that would be awesome. Greg, go ahead.
And I could keep going forever, and before we even get down to Greg's update. But my whole goal in it, though, also now I had two main goals. One, I wanted to sell some honey, of course, but my second goal was I want to set up my website for some sales. And
Okay.
I had QR codes on every single bottle and even the website on the label. So I told everybody, because a number of people said the market's only once a month. Are you going to be back next month? And I told them, I said, well, if you know how to work QR codes, I have it, my website right here. I do local pickup. So if you do run low, I had a number of people try just one bottle and they said, if we like it, we'll buy it next
There you
month.
go. There you
And
go.
I said, don't worry about next month. Just go to my website. So that
Hmm.
was my second goal, was I want to start driving some traffic towards the website. And
I
I
need
think I'll accomplish that.
I need to
So
do the same thing. My website's pretty dead. I need to figure that out as well. Greg, how about you? What's going on up there? I know you've been real busy as always, but just trying to get everything ready for the upcoming event and things.
Yeah, we can't wait to have everybody here. Bruce and Brian's going to be here for the first annual Stream Team Beekeeping Chat Field Day and Creator Convergence. It's going to be a lot of fun, and we're just trying to get a few things done around here. We have folks here all the time, so there's not like there's an enormous amount to do, but we're kind of smack dab in the middle of trying to wrap up some things in the bee yards, get things broken down, cleaned up, and it's that time of year where it's just dig, and you have to dig deep, find somewhere where you can just kind of make it happen. And then of course you do hit that burnout wall at some point, but we are prepping and excited for the upcoming event here this Saturday, and looking forward to having Bruce and Brian here. We've got all kind of folks coming from all over the country. Um, just it's going to be really neat. Before I get too lost in the weeds on that, I do want to let folks know that we are going to be going live. It's going to be the Stream Team live in front of a studio audience here at Nature's Image Farm, with just so many awesome folks. We'll have David Burns will be here. We'll have Jason from Bohemia Bees will be here. We'll have Thomas from Free Range Art Farm, Anel from NKY Honeybees, Brandon's Bees, Tony West's Bees. Who else? Who am I forgetting? Oh, the Beehive Homestead. Um, and then we're going to have all the manufacturers are going to be here. Premier Bee Products will be here. Apame will be here. Guardian Bee Apparel will be here. Larabi's will be here. The Hive Butler will be here. Not Apiary will be here. I'm looking around the room. I'm probably forgetting somebody. Ricky and Ruth from Horizontal Bees, they'll be here. So
Guardian.
it's going to be like the grand finale learning yard of the year. And we're going to have the Stream Team live in the flesh, in person, and all those guests are also all going to be here in person. And what's really important is this is a way that we can all continue to fellowship, build community, tighten up those relationships. I think what's really important as I think maybe a lot of us were naive that we thought somehow because we were talking about beekeeping and we're in this beekeeping sector of community that somehow we're protected from all of the negativity and all the things tend to destroy groups of people, communities, and such. And with all the things that have been going on the last few months within the beekeeping community, we thought, why not have a little get together where we can just kind of continue to build those relationships, tighten up the community. And this is the first first annual. We're looking to do this every single year, but for this very first year, it's going to be a private invite only kind of event. And we'll see how that goes, learn from it, and kind of build from there. But it's going to be pretty interesting. Looking forward to just a lot of great, not only content and collaborative content that we'll kind of all be sharing, I think, from all of this. But it's going to be a lot of fun just to have a kind of a relaxed kind of an atmosphere. I think one of the funnest things about the conferences are all those moments in between, the dinners after, the one-on-one time you get with each other. And so that's what we're kind of doing here. This is in no way is a conference, in no way is any. It's just it's a get together, and it's going to be a lot of fun. We are going to go live 9:30 Eastern on the Nature's Image Farm YouTube channel, and we will go live for the morning session. The morning session will be the stream team live, and then we'll have special guests that will literally pop on in person. So it will be like the digital pop-ons and guesting, but it's going to be everybody in the same room popping on, getting in front of the mics, getting in front of the cameras. It's going to be a lot of fun. As you can tell, I'm really excited, and we're going to just do our best to make it run as smooth as we can and just have a good time. And I can't wait to have you guys here for that. So, Bruce, I think before we forget, if there's anyone here in our audience who is interested and they want to come out for the Stream Team Field Day and Creator Convergence, I think we're going to have two, I don't know what you want to call them, ticket giveaways, golden tickets. It's like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory kind of things. Maybe we'll do two drawings tonight. And if the stipulations are, it's this Saturday, you have to be able to get here. So if you would be interested in coming out to this thing and being a part of all this, of the Stream Team live in front of a studio audience, we're also going to go out in the learning yard and do a tour. We're also going to take a bee tree and put it on the sawmill and cut it up and see what's on the inside. So it's going to be a lot of fun. If you think that's for you, that you'd like to come out, we'll do what do you want to do, Bruce? Do two drawings tonight for a golden ticket? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
We'll do one in about 5 minutes or so, maybe after I kind of talk about what we're doing here in Alabama, and then we'll do one, more towards the end. And so that sounds great. I like the idea of that.
Bruce, where are you in your neck of the woods? How's things going, and kind of where are you at? What are you feeling like as you kind of hit this sort of end, but not really, of the beekeeping season?
Yeah, I titled this live tonight, Overcoming Burnout, for a reason, because I've been there, and I'm starting to kind of regroup a little bit from that. I think most people come to that point sometime in the beekeeping year, especially if you take it real serious, and if you're, you put a lot of work and thought into it, which I think most people on here probably do. But as far as the bees go, I finally went out and just kind of checked on this past weekend. I went up to Ozark, where it had been about a month, I think, since I'd even been up there, close to it. And so I went up there, and actually the bees overall looked quite good. The new queens, the Michael Palmer queens I put in there and everything. And just the bees in general, they didn't get after me too bad. I was able to do what I did without even putting gloves on, or jacket. I think I just wore my veil the whole time I was up there, which was pretty nice. And, but they needed food. They were real light. Those splits I made, they had kind of consumed all the food that was in there. Some of the established hives that I did not split were good and heavy, but when you split colonies like that, you kind of mess up their mojo, so to speak, and they have to rebound. And so they had eaten up most of their food. So I went up and I put some food out for them the next day. That was Friday. Saturday, I put some food. Friday afternoon, we mixed some up, and then Saturday morning, put some out. I open fed some of them, frame feeders on some of them. And I'm going to, just leave them alone. And then next weekend after this, going up there this weekend, I'm going to go check on them again and probably feed them again. But I just kind of went around and checked and had a few, I didn't go to all my bee yards. The two that are the strongest ones that are near cotton, I think they're probably okay. I didn't check on them, but all the ones I hadn't been to in a while that I was concerned about, I went and checked. And I did have, I think, out of all the ones I checked, maybe 5 that had not made it. But a couple of those I think were just weak splits when I did those splits. And overall, though, looking really good. I think my bees right now look probably as good or better than they ever have this time of the year, especially some of those late splits that I made. And so I just got to keep them fed, keep them healthy. They've got Apivar treatments, which will be coming off probably next weekend as well, when I go out and check on them. And so it'll be about the right amount of time for that. And so that's kind of where I'm at. And then I've just been, I've got some video footage I've got, on my camera. I'll be getting uploaded here in the next few days. It may not be before this Saturday, or it may. I don't know. It just depends on how I do with my trip. I have some time to edit and things on the trip, on the planes and stuff like that. So, but that's pretty much it. Just been, I was telling you guys before, I do get a little bit, it's kind of weird. I get a little bit nervous before I travel and do things like this. But it's going to be a blast. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Tomorrow night, I'm going to go up to, if anybody's on here from, I believe it's Shelby County up near Birmingham, Brian Lee is on here, and we're going to go up and speak to his beekeeping group up there. And then spend the night up in Birmingham tomorrow night, and then fly up Friday morning and be up there for the convergence. It's going to be a lot of fun. I look forward to it. So that's kind of where we're at down here. It's just, it's been hot. It's been dry. It's starting to cool off just a little bit, but it's still pretty hot down here. And so that's kind of where we're at right now. Of course, football season started and my team lost Saturday. This team did. BYU won, but Alabama lost. And so, it just is what it is. You can't win them all every time. But so I did, before we move on and maybe do that prize, I did want to answer one question here, and I think it'll be a pretty easy to answer. From Spirit of Toad. Brian, can you, let's see, there it is right there. Spirit of Toad he's real close to me here. He's probably within an hour and a half of here, just east of here over there, I think on Lake Seminole. I have a question before we get started because I got to get to bed soon. I don't have a special fluid. How do I calibrate my honey refractometer? And I've heard extra virgin olive oil is how you do that. Is that what you've heard, Greg, or you guys? Let me put that back up there.
Yep.
But
Brian, have you used extra virgin olive oil? And what do you calibrate your refractometer to when you use that?
Oh man,
isn't it zero? Isn't it zero, or is it?
My gosh,
I think it's.
I did when I got my refractometer. I checked it just to verify it, and I haven't messed with it since.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't remember. I know Gus Mitchell
has. How far off were your refractometers when you were doing that?
Hey, when I got mine, it was very, very close. Like I only had to do minor adjustments on it. I probably should check it. But like earlier in the year when I checked my honey, well, the honey earlier in the season, at least in Ohio, I know we had some that was 16.2 or so. Like it was thick, and I could even tell, like when the one guy was over and I was just showing him the process of extraction and things like that, and I was explaining about percentages and checking it. I could tell just when it was coming out of the extractor, you could just tell it was thick. And I told him, I said, this is going to be low. And when we checked it, it was 16 something. And I was like, yeah, that's thick, but I probably should double check mine. It's been,
I'm pretty sure it's 27, I think is what I used.
Let me see.
Trails in Randy Reed, 71.5 bricks. I'd have to see. Let me grab one. I'll take a look and see what that correlates to.
I think that Gus Mitchell has a really good video on that, as Loma Vista says here. I watched that video. That's how I calibrated mine. It's been a while since I did it though. And so I'm not sure what all of this, the extra virgin, it says 71.5 bricks. I'm not even sure what that means, but I do remember 27% moisture. Okay. So, but anyway, that's the answer to the question. Extra virgin olive oil, Spirit. I would actually go and watch Gus's video as well. It's really well done, and it's from probably about a year or a little more ago. Gus Mitchell did a video on that, and really he walked through the whole process of how to do it. So,
yeah, it looks like 27.
Yeah,
water percentage would be 71, like 71.2.
Okay, it says about 71.5 is what people are saying.
Let's see if we can.
Yeah, I can't.
Oh yeah, you can almost see it. Go to your right just a little bit. I think go to your right there. There it is. Can't see the numbers though, but you can tell where it is. Yep. Wow, that's pretty cool. Anyway, that's good. That answers your question. Hopefully, Spirit. I think that'll help you. Hopefully, but yeah, go to Gus's channel and watch that. But yeah, it's real important to try and calibrate your refractometers. I just haven't done mine in a while. I probably need to do that as well.
It literally takes you just a second.
No time at all.
Just swipe it right on top of your thing there, and you've got a little screw cap here. You pop this off, little screwdriver, and you just dial it in, and you're done. It takes just a couple seconds.
Yeah, that didn't take long, did it, Greg? You just did it. So
there you go.
If now, guys, tonight we're gonna kind of plow through this thing fairly quickly, I think. But why don't we go ahead and give away one of the tickets? Be a good time to do that, don't you think, Greg?
Golden ticket for the Creator Convergence 2023. The stipulation would be, if you let's use the hashtag golden ticket, if you can spell that golden there. Look at that. See, Brian is the whiz, man. Stipulation is you have to be able to get yourself to Ohio. We're near Zanesville, Ohio. We'll have the winner. How do we figure that out, Brian? We'll have them email naturesimagefarm@gmail.com, and then we'll get you all the details. So if you think you can make it to Ohio this Saturday, and you want to be a part of the Stream Team Field Day live in front of a studio audience and the Creator Convergence, we'd love to have you. We'll use hashtag golden ticket. We'll kind of let those kind of build up there, and then we'll let it rip. We'll do two. We'll do one. What time is it now? We'll do one at now, and then we'll do the last one, let's say maybe 8:55 or so. We probably ought to keep tonight down to about maybe an hour or so.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll give it a couple minutes here. If you're able to make it, go ahead and put it in there, and we'll see who's able to come.
So Bruce, you're feeling like you're at that time of year where you're up against the burnout wall, huh?
Yeah, I was telling you guys earlier. I probably a couple of weeks ago, I was really at that burnout stage. I was talking to Brian Lee earlier too about that, and just oh my gosh, how can I keep doing this year after year, and just really getting to the point where I need to downscale. I was having all kinds of weird thoughts, and then got out in the bees a little bit this past weekend, and just kind of starting and looking forward to this thing up there in Ohio this weekend, and just kind of starting to pull out of that a little bit. So yeah, it's been kind of rough, and so I thought tonight maybe of course, if we have any questions that come in, we'll try to address those as well, but just thought we could take a few minutes and discuss kind of burnout, dealing with burnout. If anybody out there is experiencing that, kind of talk about the tips that you have to kind of overcome that burnout phase. Every year in beekeeping, about this time of the year, it's easy to get to that point when you've been so hard at it for so many months. Sometimes it's just kind of difficult to keep going on. And right now is a critical time to keep going on, actually. So just that's all I thought we'd talk about.
Let her rip.
Yeah, let's let her rip. Let's see who wins.
Let her rip. Who is it?
I'm kind of impressed that many people can make it to Ohio on short notice there.
Yeah.
So, Fuzzy World, send me an email at naturesimagefarm@gmail.com, and we'll see about getting you those details. We'll do one more later on today, maybe around 8:55 or so.
Okay, sounds great. Right before we close it out.
Wow.
So wow, already over more tickets than they had last year, I think, or about the same or more. So anyway, but so what do you guys do? Brian, have you experienced that at all? Greg, what have you guys? Yeah. What's been your experience with the burnout or the? How are you feeling now this time of the year?
Go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, one thing that I always try and do, but it necessarily doesn't always help. I always try and take that week or so, and I always try and do a vacay and just get away from everything and, just try and do a reset. And it's one thing, and I hate to talk about work, but it's one thing that I always talk about when I'm doing my training at work. I always tell people, some of the classes that I teach are 7 hours long. And I tell them, when you're dealing with a computer system, you hit a roadblock and you can only retain so much information, and you have to step away, and you need that mental reset, and that way you retain information. And it's just like that in real life, and with beekeeping. I've hit it several times, and usually people know because the videos kind of stop. There's times I used to do 2 or so videos a week, and then you'll see like a 2 or 3 week period where there's nothing. And that's because it's overwhelming. You have real life hitting you, and it's just everything coming at you, and you get overwhelmed. And I learned a while back, you have to learn when to just say no. And you need time for yourself, number one, because if you don't take time for yourself, well, then it's just going to trickle down and it's going to affect everything. And then and I'm sure the both of you, there are folks that rely on you every day. So if you're not at your peak, then it's going to trickle down and affect everyone that relies on you. So it's just so important to, even throughout a day, take a couple minutes, take that time and just sit and relax. And that's I learned that, and that's something that I do. Um, and no matter what it is. Now, everybody here that's a beekeeper, we all know what does, man, I got to learn which way to point. That one right over there says the number one tool to have in beekeeping, and that is a chair. And, if you go and just sit, and there's days I've done this where I will just drive over to my apiary and I'll just sit there for half an hour to an hour and just watch them and just relax and just take it in, you know. And we all need that. We all need to just take a step back at times and just give your body a rest. Because when you get overwhelmed, it's not good, it's not good physically on you, and it's not good mentally on you, but then it has that trickle down effect, and then it affects the household and everything else, you know. And when you're dealing with a hobby like beekeeping, with the physical demands that it has. And that's why I stay a hobbyist, because, it doesn't beat me up as much as the sideliners and commercial guys. But, in beekeeping with the physical demands, if you're not at your best, it's just going to wreck you. And there's times where, when you're feeling down, and I know like when I'm not 100%, when I've got a little cold or whatever it is, it's just so difficult to go and do anything in the bees, so you have to be at your top, um, but yeah, I mean, I just always try and just take those moments. And I can't count the number of times where like I've called Greg and, what do you got going on Saturday? Oh, I'm going to be doing this and doing that. And I'm like, I need a nature's image day, you know? And I just
Yep.
cruise down, and it's like the last video that we did. I just go down there, and those are those days where it's just that mental reset, and everybody needs that, so that's what I always do. I try and recognize when I'm kind of getting burnt, and I try not to push it so much anymore. I mean, I'm 50 now, so I've kind of recognized my limits. Uh, and I take those days, because I figure if I don't take those days right now, it's going to hit me down the road. Because if you get run down, and if you end up getting come down with something, well, then you're down and out and you can't do anything. So I'd rather sacrifice a little bit of time and just make sure that mentally, physically, I stay healthy.
That's all wise. Those are wise things. I kind of get to that point to where I just feel like I can't go, and I'm not real good about taking a break. I will tell you this year though, we had my daughter here with one grandbaby, and then I know they had another one, and her and my son-in-law and the babies were staying here with us for a little while, and then they have moved out now. But I kind of realized, and of course I knew this. We all know how important family is, but you just kind of realize that sometimes, family is just spend time with the family. The bees are they truly are wild animals. They can take care of themselves. We do need to manage and monitor them, but there are times when you need to step away, I think, a little bit and get a break. And my wife and I have talked a little bit about maybe doing a little bit of traveling, and like you're talking about, just take a little vacation. We just almost never do that, and so It's going to be nice to kind of, it's been nice to kind of have that little break from the bees, but now I'm kind of getting that itch again to kind of get into them and get rolling. And so that's what happens every year. I get really kind of burned out and a little bit down and late in the summer and in the fall. But then by the time, December, January rolls around, I'm pretty much ready to go again. And so, Greg, how about you, man?
This is something I've given a lot of thought, because every single year I get here, I think if we're all honest with ourselves, this is a beekeeping chat, but when we talk about burnout, if we ask ourselves, why have we hit that? How have we gotten to the place every single year? Raise your hand here if this is the first year you've ever hit burnout. Raise your hand if it's only has to do with beekeeping. Raise your hand if you have life figured out so much that you never get to the point to where you're burned out, ready to quit, want to set the whole thing on fire and walk away. I think if we're all honest with ourselves, we could all admit that it doesn't matter what it is in life that it is. We all get to a point to where we feel like we've had enough. We feel like there's nothing left, that we're running on fumes. And I think what's important is if we take the time to try to dial into why do we get to this point every single year? Everything, I think, is in a cycle, whether it's beekeeping that makes you feel like that, whether it's tax season, whether it's schools, the kids are going back to school, whether it's all these things. There's always stress points. There's always these things where we feel like we have to give, we have to put out so much, we have to put ourselves in a position to perform, to do, to be, and it's interesting. And I think maybe Bruce, the more that I'm chasing this rabbit, the deeper I'm going down the rabbit hole. So I think this would substantiate a whole other video. But in the past, I have really tried to break burnout down to three things. And that is simply, number one is when you get to that place in life, no matter what it is, where you feel like you have no hope, where you feel like you are at the end of the rope, where you feel like you don't know what to do next, when you have crushing and crippling and paralyzing anxiety, and the stress is eating you out from the inside. If you notice, it didn't just happen overnight. It's a build that gets you there. It might be you'll start to see things in your own life start to work towards that, and then all of a sudden you've put it off so far, now you're smack dab right at this burnout wall. What do you do about that? For me, I kind of break it down to three separate things, and I do every single year. The number one thing when it comes to burnout, burnout happens at several points of the year, at very high stress, high demanding points of the year where you have got to be on top of things, and it takes a lot out of you. No matter what it is in life, when I get to that point to where I do feel like I can't go any further, that I'm ready to quit, that I feel like I'm done. Number one, detach. You've got to detach yourself from that situation, because if you can't detach, these next two things don't matter at all. If you can detach yourself from the situation that you're in, where it is almost as though you are looking at the situation, that's where the magic happens. Well, how do you get to the point to where you can pull yourself right out of that fire and actually take a look at that situation? You've got to be able to take some time to mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally get away from it. Brian talked about going on vacation. I think Bruce talks about those things too. For me, how I detach is I find ways to get away from it. If it's running the dog, the biggest things are prayer, meditation, trying to recenter, try to get to that. You can feel them. You can feel that anxiety well up before it starts to cripple you and eat you from the inside. You can start to feel that thing coming. When you start to feel that, you start to get grumpy. You start to get short. There's a lot of things that go into that. Maybe you're working so hard that you're not eating. You're not staying hydrated. You're off center in the things that keep you in line, whether that's prayer, meditation, you name it. So you have to be able to detach first and foremost from that situation and know, okay, I need to take a step back. I need to take a little bit of a break. Maybe that's 10 minutes. Maybe it's 10 days. Maybe it's 10 months. Mm-hmm. But you have to be able to detach. There's a couple other things that maybe we'll talk about as the night goes on, Bruce. But when you guys look at your situations and you feel like you can't go any further, Brian, you mentioned taking a break, going on vacation, detaching. I think is another way to say the same thing. Bruce, what do you do when you get to those points where you just feel absolutely done? Is there a way that you detach?
Well, that's part of my problem. I don't detach as much as I should, but I did do that a little bit the last few weeks. Just kind of stayed away from the bees a little bit. Just didn't, I still bottled up honey and took care of customers, but just didn't get out in the bees much at all. And so that's kind of what I've done. We've never traveled much, but maybe we'll try and do a little bit more of that. There's some pretty cool places, even within driving distance of here, that we can go to visit. And we've talked about going kind of like Savannah, Georgia. Never been to Savannah. I'd like to go up and visit, Bob up there at his place up at Blue Ridge, and just kind of get to some different areas, even here in the Southeast, that we haven't been. It doesn't have to be a long trip, all the way across the country. It could just be within a driving distance of here. And so we may try to do some of that. Also this time of the year, and it just may seem a little odd, but I love football. And so I spend a lot of time kind of watching and following some teams and some football, and both, all the way from high school. I even watched a little bit of pro, but, high school and college is my favorite. But I also, just try to make it out to the ball games on Friday nights and just kind of get away from the bees and some of the things that cause me to burn out. And I really enjoy that kind of stuff. And then of course, spending more time with family and things like that. But this is the time of year where, yes, it is critical to take care of your bees and check on them and make sure they're ready for winter. But it's also is a time when you can when you can take a little bit of a break. I think, at least in my case, I don't have a choice. And that's what I've done the last few weeks. And so that's kind of what, Jason says he didn't know I enjoyed football. Well, I think he probably knew that with with this hat on.
I don't know what that Atlanta Braves hat on. I just thought you were a baseball fan.
Anyway, but yeah, that's key, is just to try and just sit back. And I like some of the ideas you gave there, Greg, about even if it's just meditating, even like Brian, you said, if you go out and you sit in a chair and you just kind of just watch the bees, but don't feel like you have to work in the bees. Don't feel like you have to, just kind of check on them. And that's really kind of what I'm doing now more, is just kind of checking on them, just popping lids here or there, checking on them, doing some very quick inspections, peeking in the lid, making sure we got bees and making sure they got weight and feed, and then just moving on, not having to do inspections and splits and things like that. Although we may have a few more of those coming up here in the next couple of weeks, but that's really kind of what I've done. I'm not very good about pulling myself away. That's one of my problems. That's one of my weaknesses, is I want to keep going and plowing forward. And sometimes it really kind of piles up on me. So anyway, I really do believe that most people out there do experience that. And you guys mentioned that it can happen not just with bees, but in life in general. And that is true. So
I think it's important to, whether it's a thinking chair, prayer, meditation, whatever, something to get yourself detached away from that situation. Once you guys do that, and we all do these things differently, when you do detach and you finally are in a position where you detach from that situation, I think it's important that the second part of that is you have to detach so you can reassess. You have to be able to reassess that entire situation. And that is an entire process of, once you accept the fact that, okay, I'm detached, I'm away, I've had enough of a break with this. It is a beautiful position to be in, because now you can reassess the situation without being the heels right to the fire. Now you've stepped back, you can look at it, you've had time to gather yourself, maybe take care of yourself. As simple, and this is going to sound ridiculous, but I know there's a lot of us out there, if we're truthful, we are so hot and heavy out there working bees or working on the farm, or maybe it's your job, that it is so intense and you're just constant, that you are not taking time to do some basic things like hydrate, like eat, like sleep, right? Those are the three biggest things that, as simple as they sound, you know how much water I've drank today? None. Susie brought me over something, made me eat. And because of that, my brain is foggy. I can feel my mouth is like I'm starting to get a headache. Dehydration setting in. You start making bad decisions. your thoughts are cloudy. Like all these things build up and they build up, and you go 1 day and 2 day and 3 day and 1 week and 2 week and 3 week like that. Eventually you get to the point to where you are smack dab in the lion's den, or you are right there in the fire. And if you can learn to pick up on yourself, know your habits, know those signs, know when you're getting to that point, detach and reassess. What do you guys do once you're away from, whether it's beekeeping or those stress points in life? What do you do to reassess, or what does reassessing the situation look like for you before you just go right back into it?
Brian, go ahead.
I tell you, one of the things that I try and do, and I think it's probably why my wife and I go out of the country when we take some of our vacations, is because you are 100% disconnected from this. So
Yeah,
there's
that's huge.
no telephone, there is no internet, there's no anything, you know. Um, and that, like you just said, that is huge because when we go on those trips, we're down, and I'm in my element because people probably don't even know this, but I love to snorkel and I love to scuba dive. So you're just down there and you're enjoying nature, you're enjoying, you're sitting and you're closing your eyes and you're listening to the waves crash on the beach, and you don't have these dings and things going on with this thing. And when I take those trips, I tend to come home 100% refreshed. It's just it always happens. But when I get back, um, I tend to not just 100% gung ho just jump back in. I don't. I know what I have to do. Like for the bees, I know where they're at. I know like the minimum, amount of work that I have, and I'm like, well, I at least have to do this and this, and that's it. And there's even times that when I get back, I don't film a lot. I don't, I'll do one or two things just to throw a video out. But I just don't, you know. So I've learned, and now, Mr. Burns, you'll see. I know you hit a certain decade there, but truthfully, I probably did not learn some of what I know now until I was in my mid 40s, because you are go go go. And once I broke 45 and was creeping up on that 50 mark, I learned that when I get myself run down, there's times where literally, you're just, now I travel for work, so it's just that craziness. There's times where I'll go home and I'll sleep for like 16 hours because I'm just that physically exhausted. And then when I
Yeah.
wake up, my wife is like, "What in the heck is wrong with you?" And I'm like, and then you're like a slug, just like walking and you can't do anything.
Mhm.
So I learned when I started having like those days, well, I need to recognize this, like you said, it doesn't just pop up on you like this. So I've learned, and I'm still no expert at it, because I still push myself sometimes. Um, but I learned, well, I need to recognize when, you know, I'm kind of getting run down, but I throw everything on my calendar. So as much as what I say, and look at that, it's almost like vanishing. Wow, look at that thing. That's weird. It's because I'm in Yappy's living room here. But, I look at my schedule ahead of time now, and I'm like, okay, next week's going to be crazy busy. The week after that, crazy busy in that. So I know how much I have to rest. I do. I keep an eye on that stuff anymore.
Mm.
So now this week, with everything that we have going on in the weekend, this is a week that's exceptionally busy. Go figure, you know. And
Right.
I'm going to be waking up the next few days at like 4:50 in the morning when hotels aren't even serving breakfast yet. You're up early
Right.
when the hotel doesn't even have breakfast.
Yeah. When the
Yeah.
But
microwave hotel breakfast isn't even ready yet. Yep.
yeah, yeah.
Greg,
What about
Greg,
what
you
about
meant
you, Bruce? What do you do when you go to when after you've gotten yourself out of the situation and then you start to reassess it? What does that look like for you?
Well, when I pull away, I just kind of I'm thinking the whole time, just kind of what, where am I at? What do I need to do? And it's interesting how my thoughts kind of changed. Like just even a month ago,
Yeah.
I had all these plans and all these things I wanted to do, and now I'm like, let's just wait a minute. Let's just kind of reassess this thing a little bit, and I'm always just kind of reassessing. I just kind of get that rejuvenated energy to kind of get back out there, and then I just have to kind of get out there and start going again, and then I feel a lot better. But yeah, and Brian, you made some really good points there with the rest. That's one thing. I used to stay up pretty late every night. It's just kind of my personality. The job I have now, I get up usually around 5:30, give or take a few minutes. And so I don't like to get up early like that. I'm not an early morning person at all. I just don't like it. I'd rather stay up late and get up a little bit later. When I say late, I mean like 7 or 7:30. I don't mean 10, you know what I mean? But I do find myself going to bed earlier, and there are days when I think it was last Saturday. I think it was last week or maybe it's the week before, but I had a bad headache and I just slept. I slept till like 10 a.m. and I don't ever do that. I mean, I can't remember the last time I did that, but I could not get out of bed. I just felt so tired. And so I just think we really need to just rest. I think rest is a key. I think that's a common theme. Greg, you mentioned, and my wife has told me about this, and this is critically important for anyone working out in the heat, especially with the bees. You got to hydrate. You got to make sure you have that nutrition, the hydration you need. And that's one thing that my wife, that she's like, I'll have a headache after working on a Friday or Saturday. I'll have a headache after being in the bees all day. And she, well, did you drink enough water? I'm like, well, no, I probably didn't.
Right.
And every time I'm gonna go out and work the bees, she tells me, do you want a lunch? I'm like, no, I think I'll be okay. I think I'll be home by noon. Well, that never happens. And so she just started kind of packing me a lunch and getting me. So she looks after me and she kind of gets on me if I don't drink the water I need to. But I always try to keep plenty of water and hydration in my truck now. And sometimes I'll just stop. I'll be working with the bees and I just walk over to the truck. I use that, I've got the Guardian Bee Veil where I can just unzip it like this, and I just drink some water and I've tried to pace myself a little bit that way. But it's been a tough year. Physically real tough on me this year. So I've got to kind of do a little better. But I did want to talk about burnout, but I also wanted to talk about if we could kind of, and Greg, if you have anything else to add to that, that's good. But maybe about things that are critical to do right now, because we also know that at the same time that burnout kind of creeps in, it's also a critical time with the bees to make sure they're kind of,
Right.
winter bees. You hear about winter bees and making sure that they're healthy this time of the year. So I kind of want to take just a few minutes and address that, kind of what is important that we do right now even if we are feeling burnout, what are the minimum things how do the bees need to look right now to make sure they're ready for winter? I think would be a good way to put that.
Well, it's burnout goes hand in hand with getting the bees in a position to be successful for next year, because at least for us, we've all been honest, where we hit this place just about every single time of the year. When we start seeing goldenrod, it's just, oh my gosh. The last point that ties this all together is first and foremost, when you're in these positions in life, no matter what time of year it is or what it is, number one, detach, get yourself away from that situation. Prayer, meditation, taking the dog out for a run, hunting, time in a tree stand, going on vacation, whatever that it is, do that first and foremost, because you got to get yourself away from the situation so you can, number two, reassess. You got to get into a position where you can reevaluate that entire situation and look at it from all angles. And like Bruce said, you'll find yourself going back and forth, and you'll find yourself thinking completely different about the situation. And you were going this way, you're going that way, and you actually get to where you need to be because your heart is there. Your heart, your ears, you're able to hear. You can feel a tug on your heart. You know which direction to go because it's no longer clouded with the heat of the fire, the stress, the anxiety. And now you can make good decisions. To number three, re-engage. Once you reassess and you can actually look at where you're at, where you want to go, what needs to be done, now you can re-engage in whatever that thing is in life and do it with a plan, with purpose, and also do it and know that you're all in and you're ready to knock it out. For me, I can never get to the point where I'm ready to re-engage if I haven't backstepped all those steps. So if you're going to re-engage whatever the situation is, you've got to reassess, reevaluate, take a look at where you're at, where you want to go, put a new plan together, and then boom, move forward. Now, none of this is ever an excuse to not do anything, to just sit there and wander in circles and spend your time on TikTok and live streams and all these things and never actually get those things done. It's really easy to use all those things as a crutch to procrastinate. And that is one of the worst things that you can do, because you lose so much ground. You got to put time into yourself. You got to put time into the situation. You got to put a lot of time up here. There's really smart sayings about plans and executing, where, you know, all these things are primarily planning and strategizing, and the execution is just a very small part of the plan. This is an important time of year where you've got to be 100% crystal clear. Know where exactly are you with your bees right now. How do the bees actually look? Where do you want them to be next year? And how do you get there? Look, I'm going to be honest. It is really hard for a lot of us to get to that point where we can actually look honestly at the bees and say, here's where they are. Here's where we want them to be. And let's put a plan together to get there. Sometimes we are so burnt out, so beat up, so bloody, so bruised that we can't even put all those thoughts together and coherently get to that next step. So number one, detach. Number two, reassess. Number three, re-engage. And that'll put you in a position where you can be successful, where your bees are going to be successful, and you feel like you're doing all the things that you should be, so they can overwinter and they can look great for the spring.
I think that's Stan has a great comment, I think, right here. He says, taking on more than one can handle can cause burnout. Reevaluate your goals yearly and don't go over the line to where it becomes no longer fun. And that's kind of the trap I've fallen into. I think every year I fall into that a little bit. And this year, actually, most of my bees are still alive, which means that there's more to do. So anyway, maybe that's a good sign, but we'll see what happens moving forward. But there is an analogy that came to mind when you were talking, Greg. It's almost like, I do enjoy sports, and particularly football is my favorite sport. And so when you think about these guys that are getting ready every week, we're talking about almost an annual or a monthly, whatever our cycle is with this. But with sports teams, they'll play a game, and obviously they're beat up and they're tired, whether you win or lose at the end of the game. And what do they do the next couple of days? They kind of heal. They pull away,
Yep.
A little bit. They don't practice near as hard, but the coaches and the players start watching film, and they go to work and they reassess. Like you said, they assess how they did, that in that game. And then they put together a plan for the next game. And then by the time the next game rolls around, they re-engage. They get out there and they re-engage. And so that's kind of an interesting analogy that just kind of came to my mind. And it's very true. And the winning team, the losing team have different outlooks on it. The winning team, it's easy to kind of get comfortable in what you did, but you got a different team coming in. So you got to prepare a little bit differently for the next task at hand. And the losing team obviously feels maybe a little more beat up, but they also have to figure out, how do we overcome this negative thing that happened to us. And so I think there's a lot to be learned, both from winning and losing, whether it be with the bees or in life in general. You can learn from both. And so you have to learn how to navigate that. And there are people out there, I believe, in beekeeping that just think they've got it all figured out. And sometimes that can come back, and it can nip you. It can really hurt you.
It'll get you.
And then there are a lot of people that get so frustrated that, they've maybe lost their hives, or year after year, they just say, I'm done, I'm out of it. And sometimes, the hobby or the love of beekeeping may just kind of fade, and there might be something else you're supposed to do in life. And so everybody has to just assess their own situation and move forward with whatever works best for you. And we need to be careful about how we judge what other people do, what other people want to do, and just realize that everybody's kind of in their own journey, so to speak, and trying to figure it all out. And that's one thing that's cool about beekeeping, is everybody has to do their own thing and figure out their own. It's the one thing that's coolest about it, but it's also one of the things that's most frustrating about it, because everybody's just different, and we got to do different things to have success sometimes. So we are at the 56-minute mark. Do we want to do another giveaway?
Brian, let's do it. This coming Saturday, we've got the first annual. That seems weird saying the first annual, but the first annual Stream Team Beekeeping Chat Field Day and Creator Convergence. where there's going to be just so many great folks that are going to be here to converge in one place to just to continue to enrich this community, just be here in fellowship, be here for each other. It's going to be a lot of fun. Stream team live in front of a studio audience. We're going to go on a learning yard tour, have a lot of fun. We're going to have lunch, and then we may even put a bee tree on the sawmill, cut it open, see what it looks like on the inside. If you think you can make it to Ohio, near the Zanesville, Ohio area this coming Saturday, we'd love to have you. But this is an invite-only event for this first year as we kind of get our bearings with it. But if you think you can get here, we'd like to extend a golden ticket special invite for one of the viewers here on the Bruce's Bees YouTube channel. If you think you can make it and you'd like to be a part of it, in the comments below, put hashtag field day. Brian will do the Wheel of Fortune thing, and it'll pick a winner, and we'll look forward to having you here as Bruce's golden ticket special guest.
Now remember, this is only if you could make it up there, guys.
Yeah, you got to be able to make it.
Someone who can attend only. So, but anyway, we'll give it a minute or two here, and then we'll roll with it. But
if you're just tuning in now, we're gonna have there's gonna be a lot of great folks here, a lot of great YouTubers. David Burns, beekeeping, he's going to be here from Illinois. We've got Bohemia Bees, Jason Crook from Maryland. Of course, we've got Bruce from Alabama, Brian here from Ohio. We've got, Jared from, where's he from? Virginia, Beehive Homestead. We got Tony West YouTube channel, Brandon's Bees YouTube channel, they're from Ohio. We've got Free Range Art Farm coming from, I believe, Virginia. Thomas DeGan will be here. And then all the manufacturers, Premier, Apame, Knot Apiaries, Larabies, Hive Butler, Guardian Bee Apparel. I'm forgetting a bunch, I'm sure, and I'm sorry, but everybody that we work with here in the shop, and then all the folks that we really value as friends and collaborators in the YouTube space, they're also taking time out to be here too. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be great. We will be going live on the Nature's Image Farm YouTube channel at 9:30 a.m. this Saturday, the 16th. So you won't want to miss that too. It's going to be a lot of fun. So Brian, if we've had any hashtag field days, anybody can make it, go ahead and spin the wheel, and we'll let it rip.
Matthew Miller.
Matthew Miller, come on down. Matthew, send me an email at naturesimagefarm@gmail.com. We'll get you those details. It's going to be pretty cool. I'm really looking forward to it. Like we mentioned earlier, there's I think a lot of us thought that the beekeeping space was some kind of a special, always positive kind of a space. And if we thought that, I think it was extremely naive. There can be splits, there can be turmoil, there can be divisions. What's most important is that we stick together, we build community, we continue to fellowship, we grow this community, we grow these circles of friendships, so that no matter what happens moving forward, the community and the people, the content creators, us beekeepers, we can all stick together and move forward no matter what. And so that is the purpose of this year's convergence here at Nature's Image Farm, the first annual. Looking forward to many more years of doing it here at Nature's Image Farm. This first year is an invite only, but be on the lookout next year. We'll see what happens. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
Great. I'd like to take just a minute and thank Jason for the super chat, and thanks, also ECP. Thanks.
Nice.
For the super chat as well. And there is a question. Oops.
Jimmy, yeah, absolutely. So the invite list is for everyone who bought nukes or packages from us. So if you are part of our Learning Yard crew, you'll be getting all those emails. If you got the email, like Jimmy, man, come on. Jimmy came all the way from, where was that? Was it?
Say Virginia?
Virginia, to pick up some packages of bees. So Jimmy, absolutely. You're part of the crew. You're on the special invite list. You got the email. We would love to see you.
Well, guys, we kind of talked beforehand. Everybody's kind of busy. I know, Brian, you got to get up really early in the morning, and Greg, you're busy getting everything ready for this weekend, and I'm going to be traveling tomorrow. And so I think we're going to kind of close this thing down a little bit early tonight. There is a question from Hebrews Honeys, Marty Guy. I think if you could just bring that question next time, it's about splits. That's obviously a topic we could talk about for a while. So
we like to talk about splits.
We'll go ahead and we'll address that. Just tune in the next few weeks. I'm sure we'll be talking about splits, and I'm thinking about doing just a few more. Greg will be talking about that more in the next couple of days down here, late splits, and we'll see how they do this year if I can get a hold of some of those queens. But anyway, so I think I'd like to kind of wrap this up tonight. We appreciate everyone being on here. We've had a really interactive and a great chat tonight, and I think it is a critical thing. I know we like to talk about bees and splits and mites and queens, and we need to like to talk about all the nuts and bolts of beekeeping. But every once in a while, I think we need to talk a little bit about some of the real things that people deal with. I know the reason that I brought it up is because it's something that I've felt every year. I feel it. This year it's been probably as strong of a feeling of burnout as I've ever had. And so I just felt like we needed to address that, because everyone I talk to, it seems like who takes beekeeping serious goes through that pretty much on an annual basis. And so I want to just kind of talk to you guys and maybe hopefully, help kind of, I guess, what's the word, pep talk for myself and for all the folks on the chat here. So if you're listening to this after the fact, good luck with your bees, and thanks for being here, everybody. And I just look forward to seeing you guys here in a couple of days. Brian, what you got? Any final thoughts for us?
I have no final thoughts.
Brian, you look tired, man. I gotta get up at, what'd you say, 4:30 in the morning or 4:45 in the morning tomorrow?
4:50, yeah.
Yeah, we better let you get to bed. Greg, as usual, why don't you bring it on home for us, man?
Absolutely. Well, fellas, looking forward to seeing you live in person here at Nature's Image Farm this Saturday, the 16th, for the first annual Stream Team Field Day and Creator Convergence live in front of a studio audience. It's going to be awesome. Looking forward to seeing everybody here. I want to thank all the folks who are tuning in to all three of our channels, checking out these live chats. You guys are awesome. And it's because of you guys that we are all successful in our own journeys with beekeeping, with our YouTube channels. And that's what creates opportunities like this coming event this Saturday. So we're really looking forward to seeing so many folks here for that. If you're at the time of year where you're feeling burnout, where you feel like you are just absolutely done, there's no gas in the tank, you've been running on fumes for months, you're coasting downhill, and you're not sure what to do, remember those three things. Number one, detach away from that situation. Get yourself into a place. Meditate, pray, do whatever you need to do to get away from it. Number two, reassess that situation. Look at it from all angles. Reevaluate. So you can, number three, re-engage. Put that new plan together. Put it in action where you can actually be successful. You've got to be right here, and you've got to be right here. If you're not right here and you're not right here, no matter what you do with these things here, it's going to be wrong. It's not going to work. And you're going to be beating your head and your hands and the work that you do on earth against a wall with no fruit. So if you're there, we're there too. We've been there. It's a part of this whole entire thing called life. It's not just beekeeping. It's every aspect of it. And so I want you to know you're not alone. We're there too. And I think it's something that we can all work through. And so I hope that helped tonight, Bruce. I think it was an awesome point of conversation, something that I'd like to spend a lot more time on and dig into, and we'll do that a little bit later. But again, we want to thank everyone for tuning in. Next week will be next Wednesday, 8 p.m. Eastern. Whose channel is that on that week, fellas?
Well, it would actually be on yours for next Wednesday, but if we're going to do it at we'll figure that out. It's either going to be yours or Brian's. We'll figure that out.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep. So one of either Castle Hives or Nature's Image Farm next Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern. Boy, I could ramble on all night. If you would go check out, we got so busy. When you get to that burnout stage, it's all you can do to just keep things moving, to keep things going. And we've been in a pretty stressful point of growth here with the farm, with the supply shop, with the bees, the last 5 to 6 months, really. And so we've been kind of light on videos. But I did just put out a video last night, working bees at night with Buzz and Honey. It's a lot of fun. And it's just a hat tip to Lucas Cameron there at Buzz and Honey. What's so awesome is when you can build not only business relationships, but friendships with folks where you can support each other. Lucas was our biggest order of the year, and it was really special for us, and it meant a lot to us. It was a lot of fun to be able to pass on these genetics that we're working on to him for his apiary here in Ohio. So if you would, go check out that video that we just posted. My brain is so fried, I can't even think of what the title's called, but it's something loading bees at night with buzz and honey, something to that effect. Check it out. It's a lot of fun. Guys, I appreciate you. I appreciate the collaboration. Looking forward to seeing you guys this Saturday at Nature's Image Farm, and also the golden ticket winners. Shoot me an email at nature'simagefarm@gmail.com. We'll see you too. As always, we want to remind you guys to be the lighthouse and be the change you want to see in this world. We'll see you next time. Thanks for watching.